But please don't get it mistaken that the men in my family were leaders, were providers, and they did lead. So I did get a lot from them, but it was always far in between because there was still this lifestyle that they were impacted by, which was incarceration. So yes, I had it and the presence was there and I was able to get gems and wisdom a lot, but it was, again, always far in between when they could.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kamerie Gibson show, where we talk about transforming our pain into power. And today we have a beautiful guest with me here today. Her name is Rasheeda. Rasheeda, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience for me, please.
Hi, my name is Rasheeda Jones, and I am here with Kamerie. I'm here with Kamerie, and just an honor to be here and in solidarity with another woman who's providing a platform for us to share our stories and our experiences.
Thank you so much, Rasheeda. So just to give the audience background of how we know each other so far, we attended the same high school, and we discovered that through this same teacher and coach. His name is Coach Dave. He's a teacher and a football coach and also a softball coach. He's really just such a great spirit. And Coach Dave, when I would visit him, he would always mention Rasheeda to me and the work that she was doing. And he would just say, you two are very similar and y'all need to meet each other. And y'all both went to Dorsey. Could you just go ahead and talk about your connection to Coach Dave too?
Yes. So Coach Dave was my history teacher. He was my government teacher. Government, let me be specific. And so I had him for first period back in 2007, my senior year. But then he also served as my softball coach as well. And so we were able to reconnect when I did the 2008 Dorsey class reunion. So I was a part of making sure that happened. And we gave Coach Dave an award just for him being a man and his presence and so many lessons that he provided to us when we were younger that I literally still remember. And so we connected back in 2018 for our 20-year reunion. And then when my book came out, I didn't even get to him, but somebody sent it to him and he reached out and we've been connected ever since. And so he's definitely a blessing. And again, look at him connecting us here now. Oh, I wasn't able to, okay. So when I released Justice, my book, I wasn't able to get to him right away just because it had taken off, but he actually reached out to me and has been a support ever since the release, which was back in January of this year.
Okay. I didn't even have Coach Dave as a teacher or coach or nothing. He was actually my best friend's coach. So my best friend played softball. Her name is L'Oreal. And I would just tag along with her sometimes. So that's how I met him. But same like you said earlier, a lot of the stuff Coach Dave would say really stuck with me even throughout college now. He introduced me to Gil Scott-Heron after school. And I was like, wow, like this poet, like, I never heard of him before. All type of like Tupac interviews. And yeah, like you said, he was just a good man or like special, like very smart, so yeah, but just wanted to give context on how we met each other. And later on this month is Dorsey High School's reunion.
Yes.
That's going to be fun.
It is. And I think it's important we stay connected because that's a foundation for a lot of us.
I think it's cool to be a part of a high school that it's like likes to be together because not everyone has that experience. Like same with going to an HBCU. It's just a lot different. I feel like I have that with high school and with like college. So
same.
I know it's so cool having it.
So we both had legendary experiences because Dorsey High School is definitely home of the legends. Let's make that very clear. And then we all know how HBCUs help form and shape our experiences as Black in the U.S. So.
Exactly. Wow, Rasheeda, you said you were class of 2007. I feel like that's
2008.
2008, I'm sorry. I feel like that was probably like the best time. Like it was way more fun to go to school then. Oh, so that means you know Alton as well.
Yes, that is my brother,
Yes.
my dear good friend. So shout out to Alton and all that
Alton.
he's doing. Uh-huh.
Okay, okay. Is it
Yeah.
Alton?
Yeah,
Man, I'm like, how am I even saying this name wrong the whole time?
he knows all of, but yes, we've been rocking ever since. So again, home of the legends, because I love Alton and how he supports me and his vision and what he's doing in community. So shout out to him.
Me too. Man, but I'm saying that's that Dorsey right there.
Yes,
I
legends,
met,
home of the legends.
yes, man, I met him when I was 18. He was already in Morehouse, and I asked him to like do a panel for me. Like he's been very helpful too. Like, and I just love that about us and like Dorsey and like even me and you. You know, us not meeting each other in person yet, but
And I was like, say less.
Yep, I love that. I really, it's real. It's real. Whatever people say about Black people, whatever. Like
change it, because we definitely show up. No
we
questions
do.
asked.
We do. And for you, what was your experience like growing up? Are you from LA?
I'm from LA, born and raised.
Okay, born and raised as well. Okay, what was it like for you growing up as a young woman in LA?
I had a very unique experience because I was exposed to a lot. And so when I always say, like they say, to live and die in LA, right? Because I literally experienced like the gang culture. I've experienced, and when I say I've experienced, not directly, but indirect, because it was around me. The gang culture, losing family and friends to gun violence, which is something that has been very traumatizing. Having my family being incarcerated and having to have the effects of that. And then just not having access. So we're surrounded by so many things, right? We have the beaches, we have Disneyland, we have Hollywood, we have all of these things that we're surrounded by, but not even knowing that we have access to them. And so my childhood was very fun, of course, but then it was also very traumatic. But to me, as a child growing up, it was very normal. So it's not until me being an adult where I'm understanding what my childhood was like. But, you know, my mom did the best that she could. And my family and the women in the family did the best that they could to provide, to where I never seemed like I lacked anything, love, compassion, anything. So my childhood experience in LA was, again, very normal to me. That's what I was surrounded by: guns, drugs, violence, by default. By default. But I did have a good childhood in essence too. I had a twin brother, and so I have a twin brother, and so I was never alone going through it. So we got through it together. Okay, and I'm very fortunate to have had that experience with him.
Wow. Ooh, having a brother. So I have my brother. Y'all were close in age? Y'all are close in age?
So I have a twin brother. I'm 7
Is
minutes
that
older.
blood? Oh,
Yes.
okay, got you. Oh,
This
wow.
is my twin brother, 7 minutes older than him. And then I
Wow.
have an older brother. But yeah, very close. Very close.
Wow. Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's only like, he's 22 months younger than me. And me and him, they would call us like twins just because of how close we were. And I know it's like growing up in like an environment, like you said, in LA, gangs, all types of stuff going on around you that you probably shouldn't be exposed to at that age. It definitely helps to have that brother though. Like it definitely helps to have that person to have your back, to walk you home, home from school, to like if anybody messes with you, who messing with you, So what was that relationship like for you? How much did that mean for you growing up, despite all that?
It meant everything, because what he was to me, I was to him. So it was, if anybody messed with you, I cannot be very transparent, because we were very protective of each other. But again, to have a person, because life could be very lonely. So to have a person that you're experiencing this with, and you're talking about the end of the day, and you asking, how did that make you feel? Or sometimes you're being silent about how it made you feel, because we're not yet able to formulate the words to really express how it is seeing mom having to go through this, seeing dad having to go through this, seeing us having to go through it. So to have a brother and a friend in the same person meant everything, or it means everything to this day. It means everything, which is why I go hard the way I do for my brothers.
What was earlier? I know you talked about like how it was just normal for you. It was your environment. Now that you've grown outside of that, how have you been able to find your identity outside of like those experiences? Because I know I struggle with that.
I'm still finding it. And I think that as we grow every day, we're still developing and growing. But I just recently found it, and it took a lot of therapy. It took a lot of like self-awareness. It took a lot of like soul searching, because for so long my identity was covered in, me being a twin sister, or me being from this environment, and me not wanting to associate it. Because for a very long time I did not want to associate with gangs, with anything that tied to being stereotyped and negative for Black people. It wasn't that I wasn't proud. It's just I knew as I elevated in academia and professional, like I was taught that you cannot associate with that life. Like, if this is where you want to be, I wanted to be a probation officer. If you want to be a probation officer, you want to get in law, you can't talk to, you can't be associated with, you can't. So I disassociated myself, and I did not like that I had to hide who I was. And it took me going to a HBCU. It took me going to therapy. It took me really doing some inner work to learn myself and redefine who I am now. So now I got it, right? But I'm still growing and I'm still learning. But it was all a process. It was truly all a process to be able to be who I am, the Rasheeda I am today, and stand firm on who I am as a woman of God, as a helper, a healer, as an inspiration, inspired by Nipsey. Like, it took a lot of that. It took a lot of reading and interviews and picking brains of the wise and being in space where I can get that from. So it wasn't myself, but it was the willingness for me to want to know who I was truly at the core.
And how was attending an HBCU an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself or escape what you were around?
Well, so that was the main reason, right? Is I needed to get out of LA. I needed to see that there was something more than the lines that I was around. So that was the first thing. Like, what? This gives me an opportunity to travel, right? And then it also gave me an opportunity to just see myself within my teachers. Because yes, Coach Dave was a teacher, a Black teacher, and I had a couple Black teachers. I had a Black principal. Then I went on to Cal State LA and I had a couple, but I needed to be where majority was there. I needed to see all Black students, all Black teachers. I needed that. And so being there really helped influence like all of who I am, because it was a safe space, right? And I'm able to dig deep and see the culture in which I come from and see like there's so much more than what I was around. So I can talk about this forever, because literally around, I went to Clark, Atlanta. So you got Spelman, you got Morehouse, and you got Clark. And then I'm able to travel within, and then I'm in Atlanta, to where I'm around it. It's nothing but history. And I was also in solitude too, because I was away from family. So I was really able to get a different perspective with attending an HBCU. So a bar was set and I was ready, and I was able to see an example of what I could be with going to a HBCU. And then loved in that process. I was surrounded by love in that process.
How do you think, well, what attributes do you believe you have as a result of attending an HBCU?
More self-love, confidence, and I'm saying more because, again, developing more self-confidence, more self-awareness, more knowledge of self and for our people. Always striving for excellence, because I know that I'm capable, right? And I think that aligns with confidence. More love of community. My leadership abilities got a little bit better. Like it's I can go on and on. But I think I would highlight that, like, the love of self and love of self, meaning like as a Black woman, but and then also like love of being Black as well. And then I also found a love for reading. Like, I used to like to read and write, but that just brought out a different level because there was an expectation. Like, the knowledge is found in a book. So I need you to open these books and I really need you to comprehend and think critically. And so those are some of the things that I developed being a product of an HBCU.
Man, you saying the book, it's in the book. I was just talking to my friend earlier about Nipsey, and you mentioned Nipsey, and man, Nipsey. Just, he talked about how, you know, everything is in the books and how he now, you know, this gang member now has a reading list for people, you know, and how profound that is in and of itself. Can you talk about Nipsey Hussle's influence on you?
So I initially gravitated towards Nipsey because my brother was playing his song one day, right? And there's this line he says, trust funds for Imani in case this life take me. And so my niece's name is Imani. And so I'm like, what song is this? I need to listen to it. And so I started listening to it. And it's been like a rap ever since. I just fell in love with this man. But then it also, I fell in love with Nipsey because it also allowed me to get a dose of reality of what it's like as a Black man, because they resemble much of my brothers, like from the way they look to the way they think. And then just being a part of gang culture in LA, to be honest, right? So I wanted to be as close to them as possible. So I wanted to like everything they liked. But then I found this love for Nipsey and his music. And I was like, I love it so much. I said, no, let me tap into these interviews, because what he's saying is, I need to be more into his mind.
And I think that in terms of hip hop, you think of the message that they embrace, I feel parallel with, like, you know what I mean? The power structure. I don't mean the culture of hip hop, but the power structure of music. They got prescribed personas they expect from us. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the way he used their intention against him was one of my underlying strategies. You know?
And then from there, girl, I just started looking at every interview, like everything. It was bad. It was bad, but it was good for me. From the outside looking in there, it was like, she has this obsession. But for me, it was like, I need to learn from someone that I can relate to. He's relating to me on a deeper level. So now what he says, I want to know. What he reading, I want to know. I want to know, like, how he's so wise and why he's so smart and how his moves are so calculated. And he just was planting seeds, and every seed he planted has literally helped influence the way that I move in terms of running my marathon and being very intentional and purposeful in what I'm doing. Because now, I'm not going to lie, I was in college just because I was in college, because I was told this was a way out, right? But once I started listening to his interviews and paying attention and really getting, like, the message that he was trying to convey, then now I got intentions. Now I'm on his marathon for a reason, and now I'm standing for something much more greater than myself. So when people like, oh, she just like Nipsey, like, nah, it's deeper. But the real ones know. So if you really know, you know. But, you know, if you don't, it's time to catch up. Because his work is, well, literally the work and the seeds and everything that he left is definitely going to be beneficial for years to come. Like, it was too powerful. Just like Tupac. Like, Tupac has been gone how long? And people are still, like, literally rich from his message. Nipsey will be the same way. And just like Malcolm X and all of the greats before us who literally left seeds here, that's the type of influence. So I'm sorry if I went left, but definitely inspired by Hermes.
Definitely. And I remember Coach Dave saying, just, we can't be doing stuff like that. We can't be doing that. We can't be taking people like him, you know? And I was just like, damn, that's so real. Like, we can't be doing that. Like, how could we do that? And it's just sad that once they take someone like that, the leader, you know, it just, everyone else after, like, we really have to make use with what they were telling us, or else their death goes in vain. It was for no reason. You
know, it's the sad part, because I was just having this conversation Well, actually, today when I was referencing the Tupac Museum, I said it's very unfortunate that happened because people are always looking for leadership, and we need leadership because there's only so many chosen few that will really get it and be selfless and willing to sacrifice for community, for something bigger, like for everybody. And the fact that he was taken, and a lot of our great leaders, when you look, they were planted and taken by people who look like us. And so that's rooted in self-love. And so that's why I'm always promoting the love of community and the love of self. Because when you love yourself and you love your community, there's no way that would have happened. There's no way that would have happened. There's no way. There's no way. If I love myself enough and I love a reflection of what I see, there's no way that I'm going to harm you. There's no way that I'm feeding you, negativity. There's no way. And so, yeah. I'm a stop there, but that's why I promote that so heavy.
Wow, and it's that simple, but it's that deep, and it's that wow, it really is that, and it's really that's it, with a ribbon on it, literally. And I think that's why he was saying we can't be doing that, because it's all encompassing, like you said, it's community, it be your own people. Touching on leadership, men, what was your experience like with the male leadership, like in your family, your household?
So my dad was absent. He was incarcerated. So I didn't, although he was a leader and he led from where he was at whatever given time, there was a lack of it. So a lot of the leadership from men came by teachers, and I didn't get that until high school. I didn't have my first male teacher until high school. So that's why I literally give Coach Dave all his flowers, because that was the first representation of seeing a man and his wife and him coming back to give to community. But please don't get it mistaken that the men in my family were leaders, were providers, and they did lead. So I did get a lot from them, but it was always far in between because there was still this lifestyle that they were impacted by, which was incarceration. So yes, I had it and the presence was there and I was able to get gems and wisdom a lot, but it was, again, always far in between when they could.
What was your interpretation of the male leadership in your family as a young girl? Because I know for me, I usually would be annoyed or just be like, oh, they're stupid or they're bad or that's what they get. They always get into problems. But now that I'm older, reading all this stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's not that, or I reduced it to, oh, people who go to jail are bad or you're doing something wrong or it's your fault. Why can't you just stop being stupid? Why can't you stop doing whatever you're doing, But I know with black men too, it's a lot more complex when it comes to those type of things. So what was your interpretation of it like before?
You paused. So I heard it's a lot more common.
Oh, for black men, it's a lot more complex.
Okay, I didn't hear, your camera froze and I didn't.
Oh, okay, after that?
Yeah, so if you can redo your last.
I got you. The last part, okay. I said, how did you interpret the males in your family's leadership as a young girl?
As a young girl, I didn't even have the capacity to process I just knew that they're in and out, and I witnessed mom, grandma, auntie holding it down. And until they come back from where they are, which was on vacation, we'll hold it down. So it was very normal, to be honest. The in and out to me, if that's all I saw, it was just like, we're going to pray for them until they return. I'm going to be sad, of course, because anytime someone is taken out of the household, it, of course, made us sad. Like, why is my uncle not going to be here no more? Or where's my brother? Or like, dang, my dad is on vacation again. So I wasn't able to process that as a kid at all, to be honest, because there was also a shield. I just mentioned that my mom used to say, "Dad's on vacation." So to me, there was this fantasy like that I created in my head as to, this is what it is. This is what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't have one, if that answers your question.
No, yes, it does. I know for me, we were talking earlier about our brothers, and I told you my brother kind of was in and out. Around 14, I was 16. I kind of just had transferred to Dorsey around that time, and he had got caught up in the system, multiple systems, and then it just really took a toll on our relationship. And I did at first blame my brother a lot for him kind of abandoning me, I feel like, especially although I was the big sister, he was younger than me, he was still there for me. And I think just like growing up in LA and dealing with like weirdos, perverts, walking home from school, or just people at school messing with you, it's just different having like your person with you. Like you said, you get to talk to at the end of the day if your parents are tripping or you're not feeling good, they just know, you can cuss around him. And I know you said that you had a similar experience with your brother being separated from you. So can you talk about how that was for you?
So it didn't take me to an adult to realize how much it had affected me, because I was so used to it. Like at 7, I was used to writing and knowing that there would be an absence, if you'll say. And so because I was used to my dad being gone and my older brother being gone, the moment my twin brother left, I'm like, again, this is normal for me. And so it wasn't until now as an adult to where I'm looking back, like, it's not out of regret at all, but it's more so like, if you were there, I wonder what life would have been. Like, if you were there to protect, I wonder if I had to go through that one time. Now, this is something that I've never expressed to them because I would never want them to feel any guilt. I know that they'll listen to this, but it's not in that way to feel guilty, but it's always in my mind, like, what if? Because I always do have those scenarios, like, what if? And it is what it is, because we can't go back. But the fact that you just said that, like, there was a bit of not resentment, but like, where were you? I do feel like that. Like, damn, you were supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then it causes so much frustration again towards the system, though, because I do know that, and not to make an excuse, but I do know that systems were in place and by design to cause separation. So I never wanted to be that. Like, and so that, again, that's my message, is to, even though we're separate and even though, you're incarcerated, it has never stopped the bond or the love or the support that I'll always give. So yeah, I don't have much in detail about like the interpretation, because when I promise to God, when I say it was so normal to me because it was all around me, that's what I just thought was supposed to happen. It's not until now I'm like, none of this is normal at all.
Mm-hmm. It's not. It shouldn't be. And I know you talked about your brother and your dad going through it. I personally, I had my brother separated from me, but my dad was the one who raised me. So my dad was a single father. So I did have my father there, which plays a big like difference in like a young girl's life. So especially when it comes to dating. So me being a young woman and dealing with men, it's difficult, definitely, but I'm definitely grateful for my dad's wisdom as a young girl, because I was able to avoid a lot of things that I see women who didn't have that have to go through. So can you talk about how that has affected you when it comes to your womanhood?
So there was a situation at one point where it was just, you couldn't tell me nothing about love, regardless of who I was influenced by. But when I do look for partners, or the partners that I have experienced, I've always looked for similarities of my dad. And again, he was a great guy. It's just, again, circumstances. So you have to be well-read. You have to be well-traveled. You have to like stand up for something. He was a political Black Panther Party. Like, you have to have some sort of foundation. So although he was absent, and I think people get that misunderstood, he still was a great man. Like, he still provided, he still protected. And that was across the line between all of the men in my family. So those are the qualities I look for. And because those are the type of men that I have in my family, it's not hard to decipher what type of men to show up for in my relationship. So fortunately, I had a not so good apple, but then fortunately, I was able to, again, with self-love and self-awareness, God blessed me with a wonderful man after that first encounter. So I've been very fortunate and blessed to have standards that my brothers and my dad has instilled, and to have like a sort of a foundation to where that's not really an issue right now, or hasn't been an issue outside of my one high school experience.
Oh, okay. No, thank you for clarifying that about your father, about the men in your life. Although they weren't there, they still were good people, because
Absolutely.
that clarification in and of itself just reveals the humanness in Black men, the intricacies that we all have. So thank you.
To this day, my brothers are incarcerated and still show up as providers, protectors. You don't need to physically be there to instill value. And so that's why I go hard the way I do, because these are good men. These are good men who just made a decision. And my brother, who's incarcerated with a life sentence, he's in there for something he didn't do, which makes my work even more, because you have this man who's been taken away from his family for something he didn't even do. But yeah, great man. Great man. My dad was he's no longer here, but again, well-educated, well-read, well-traveled, speak 2 languages, a man of faith, like everything that I would want in a husband is what my dad was.
I don't know why it's been doing that. And it's so good. It's so good. It's okay. I got a lot of it. Can you go into detail? Okay, so for those who don't know, Rasheeda actually has a book out that she wrote. Can you go ahead and talk to the audience about your book and the inspiration behind your book? I know you talked about your brother a bit, but go ahead.
Yes, so I have a children's book. It's called Justice. It's about a young boy. His dad is incarcerated, and he's having different feelings about it. So he comes up, him and his dad, during a visit with coping skills as to how to process his experience. And so I won't tell all of it, because I'm encouraging the listeners to purchase it, or to get your hands on a copy, support it, whatever. But the idea around this book is promoting mental health. I'm very big on mental health and expressing ourselves and using our voice for things that matter. Then it's also breaking isolation, because people who have loved ones incarcerated, it's a very lonely road if you allow it to be, because there is shame and isolation around people being incarcerated, because it's assumed that the people in there are bad people. So the books kind of breaks isolation, and then again highlights the importance of, just because this character's dad is in jail, it doesn't take away that this dad is still showing up and very much there for his son. And so what inspired the book, of course, is my personal story. I have nieces and nephews who are experiencing the same thing that I experienced when I was younger. I have students who are experiencing this. I have a community of Black and brown folks who are experiencing this. And so that's what inspired my book, is to provide a tangible tool and representation. And so that's what that does.
That's literally a sacred woman, as Queen Afua, I think you pronounce her name, says it. Literally, you're a healer, just by that physical, tangible gift, like you said. It's really beautiful. And that's a big part of the reason why I wanted you, to share that story and share the inspiration behind that book, because from this conversation alone, for some reason, I never thought about, we know all people in prison aren't bad, but why is it important to point out that, because I don't know, why do you think that's the case? Why do you think it's important that we point that out?
Okay, so one, because we're all human, and right, let's humanize our experience. But then you have 400 and something years where we were held captive as people, and it's literally the same thing, like against our will for things. Half the people who are in prison are there for things out of their control, and meaning like they could have used additional support, whether it was mental health resources, whether it was like needing a home, whether it be just needing access. You know, you got people in there stealing to provide food for the family. You know, you got people in there for drug offenses, but now you got a legal weed shop on every single corner. You know, you're prescribing weed to cope. And then you got people like my brother who are literally there because they're innocent, but because they were a part of a lifestyle, they were already counted out. And so when you take into consideration and make yourself aware of some of these things, it literally changes the dynamics. So when I'm fighting, I'm not just fighting on behalf of my brother. I'm fighting on behalf of a whole bunch of people who have just been recaptured back into modern day slavery. You know, so it's very important to not only understand what incarceration does. It's important to break systems that has designed it. It's very important to be aware because things need to be changed. There has to be a better way. Locking a person up for and without second chances, locking a person up over things they can't control. It has to be a better way. It has to be a better way. And if we're not aware of that or that better way, nothing will be done.
It's going to keep on repeating itself.
It's going to keep repeating itself. And we can't go back to when we were kings and queens and we had our own resources and our own land and we were very proud. We can't have that and then that be stripped away from us and put back here. So it's time to it's been time. I'm not saying nothing new, but I'm just re-saying it off the strength of my ancestors and the freedom fighters who are still continuing in this fight. But again, to our audience who are younger and are coming up after us, maybe what we say will be conveyed a little differently, more relatable, but we need people to be aware of the issues that we're dealing with and find solutions, better solutions, healing solutions that make sense to our culture and to our people, for our people, by our people.
I love that. Definitely have a lot of fire. I love that. I love it. I love women like that.
Okay, this fire is lit, and I just pray to God that it just never dims down. I pray to God that He continues to strengthen me and keep me, because I don't see it dying down.
No, and you said, so you're a teacher?
No, I'm a psychiatric social worker.
Psychiatric social worker. Okay, can you talk about
what a school counselor? So it's just another term for a therapist, but on a school campus. So I work with students and supporting their social emotional needs. So we have students in academics, and again, just imagine you going to school and you dealing with the world, and then you got to come to school and show up and learn math and English and stuff that don't even make sense to you right now. I provide that safe space for students, just to promote, let them know that they have a safe space, process their experience, help them with coping skills, and just ways to navigate life.
No, it's so important because you just mentioned that. You said, oh, what if you, and literally and I won't say her name because it's Dorsey, but I'll never forget it. And I shared it with my brother when he got out later on. And I was like, one time, so my brother was in maybe juvie or something like that. My junior year, whatever. It was my senior year, and I was in this English teacher's class. And, oh my gosh. So when people call you, like, they only get a certain amount of time to call you. So when this number would call me, I knew it was my brother, and I was like, shit, I gotta hurry up and answer the phone, because I'm gonna miss it. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't, But it was a big deal. So I was literally in the class. I wasn't even thinking, but I just got up and just walked out to go pick it up and answer it out the side of the door. And for some reason, I don't know what she was on, but the woman stopped her whole class, came out to the side of the door, and was like, what are you doing? You're just going to walk outside of my class like that? And in that moment, I was very, like, defensive. I was very, I'm not going to lie to you. It's basically telling her to, like, back up and leave me alone. Like, I'm talking to my brother. And from that moment, she never let that moment go. She never let it go. I remember she actually, later on that day, she followed me to the auditorium. There was a presentation going on, and she made it a point, a Black woman made it a point to tell my other teachers what I had done in her previous class period. And I remember she had me sent to the detention office with Ms. Brown, I remember, and sat there, explained the whole, and like I said, they not knowing what's going on in my life. All they seeing is the reaction, right? She's misbehaving. And I was so prideful and just, I wasn't going to tell them my business. What they need to know my business for. They don't care. They don't care. And then I remember after that happened, I think I got like detention or something stupid, but I never forgot that about her. And I remember later on, she reached out to me to see how I was doing. And I was just like, damn. And I told my brother what happened, and he was just kind of hurt by it. Just like, damn, I'm sorry you have to go through that too, you know? But I just wanted to share that with you. Like, yeah, if I had a counselor I could talk to about those things that understood me and wasn't going to judge me, you know, man, I wouldn't have been so angry probably. But I was like, yeah, let me just share that story with her, because I'm sure it's other people just
No, and I appreciate that, because being in a school, I understand the role of a teacher, right? My job is to teach you, and if you're doing X, Y, and Z, it may appear to whoever teacher, because some are different, that you're being disruptive and you're interrupting my goal to teach you what you need to know. And I quote that because it's all subjective. But then you have people in position like me, like I need to understand you as a whole person. And so just your academic and you learning is just a small piece of your world. You still have a whole world around you, and we have to show empathy in regards to that, because I'm not going to downplay what you're going through or your experience or say it's not important because I want you to learn my math lesson. You know, so I just think there has to, again, be a better way and a little bit understanding and grace to the world is happening. But we're getting there as to why I am a school counselor and there's this position available so we can see our students as whole people.
Yes, man. You're doing the Lord's work, man. But thank you for saying that. What would you say to the younger Rasheeda?
I would continue to, I was just asked this question yesterday, and I want to stop and think, would I have the same answer? And I think that I would. I would tell her that I'm very proud because in spite everything that I was around, everything that I've seen, like I still had a clear vision that I wanted to be better. Not better than, but I just wanted more for myself. And I didn't know what that more was because I wasn't exposed. I just knew that was what around me, it just wasn't it for me. So I would say I'm very proud. I would also say that I made good use of my imagination, because my imagination and my optimism has gotten me very far, from traveling to me writing my book to self-publishing it. There's no stopping me. And so very, very proud of the young girl, that young girl in me. Now, life is not always the best, but I literally take the best out of every moment. And the fact that I even got to that place, like I'm very proud. So I would tell that young girl that, like, you did what you were supposed to do, and you did it well, and you did it with love, and you did it with a smile, because every picture you see me doing the same smile. So I would definitely let her know that I'm proud of her.
Simply put, I really do. I've never heard someone say something like that, like congratulate themselves for just getting to where they got to be. Man,
for sure,
that's really big. And I'm very proud and honored to have a woman like you, you know, in my reach, in my community, to have come through the same environment, similar, and different experiences like me, and just to hear parts of your story. So thank you so much. My final question for you was just going to be for young people like you who are trying to navigate their current experience, whether their father isn't in their life voluntarily, involuntarily, whether their family is all present or not. What would you say for those people who feel lonely? Yeah.
So one, I want to normalize the importance of like seeking help. So I do know that sometimes we can be very private and very prideful at times, but there's help available, and getting help can seem so cliche, but there's literally resources that can help you turn your pain into purpose. Whether it's connecting to an individual, whether it's connecting you to therapy so you can process your experiences on your own, whether it's just like feeling in community and love, like that you're not alone dealing with it. And so it may not work for everybody, but I promise that you can always turn your pain into purpose and just utilize that. Remember that what you're going through can literally be somebody's testimony. I know that they say that all the time. It can literally be your survival guide. I didn't make that up, but I read that and it literally stuck. So whatever you're going through, know that you could get through, but get through by seeking help with people who can see you through. For me, I'm staying connected to my higher being. I'm very spiritual. So God is my source of strength. Like, I'm staying connected to my family. Fortunately, I have family. And for those who don't, there's ways that you can develop a family and create a family of your own. And that's literally it for now. There's so much I would want to say, but I think that that's going to always be stay connected to community and turn your pain into passion and use your voice and be the change that you want to see. If there is a change and you want to see it happen, be that change. If you're struggling through something, identify that struggle and seek support for that struggle. We only got one life, so we're going to make the best of it, but leave your print. How did you leave this world? Were you a help or did you stay and hurt? And for me, I hurt a lot, but I also am healing and I'm also helping. So that is my gift to you all.